Welcome to the Force-Dyad Podcast, a Star Wars-centric podcast which aims to connect us fans to our fandom. Each episode, we discuss recent shows, movies, and what's new in books, comics, and gaming. We share our favorite theories and touch on our collectible hobbies, all in an effort to connect the galaxy far, far away to our own. And welcome to episode 6 of the Force-Dyad Podcast. I am Jedi John, and with me this week again, as always,
is Obi-Sean. Hello there. How we doing?
Oh, we're doing great this week. Man, it's good to be back.
Yes, it's been a couple weeks since we last recorded. Since we had our late night post-bowling.
Yeah, the honeymoon was quick on that.
God, that was late.
Yeah, it was good. It was a fun night. Night. Yeah, bowling didn't go so hot this week, but that's the ups and downs. But yeah, we won't go into it because it didn't go well.
It went well for me.
Oh boy. But yeah, just to get started tonight, we're just gonna plug the socials real fast before we get started. That way, we get those out of the way, and you guys know where to find us because we are super active on the Twitter sphere
and Instagram. We're trying to get the Instagram going. I've started doing the tidbits on Twitter and Instagram. So on Twitter, you can find us at ForceDietPod, and then Facebook and Instagram are both at ForceDietPodcast. So I've been trying to do daily kind of little trivia, I've been calling them tidbits because you only have 280 characters, so you can't say trivia tidbit because those are really critical. 8, with the space, trivia space, you have to utilize every single.
It's very important. It's very important stuff on the Twitterverse.
And the ampersand is used heavily instead of and, so
saves characters.
It does
all day.
It's important. So follow us on if nothing else, Twitter and Instagram, and kind of get those little trivia tidbits. Like I said, try and do them daily.
Yeah, and you can always find us on our Facebook page also. We post there pretty regularly. But yeah, definitely more active with the fans on Twitter. But yeah, so I guess let's recap the week we've just had.
Well, yeah, we've been off 2 weeks now. I was out of town last week on vacation, which was nice. It was nice.
You were in Florida.
We went to Florida. Went to Destin, which is apparently that and Gulf Shores are the only 2 places that people from St. Louis take their family as far as the beach is concerned.
Just about.
So we loaded the kid up, turned him rear facing 2 days before he left, which is always a good decision to try a new seating arrangement with a toddler before you go on a 12 to 14 hour road trip.
So the trip went well.
It went well. Honestly, it did go well. He was very well behaved. We only got motion sick once. Unfortunately, you can give 2-year-olds Dramamine, so
hey, get him right through.
So we medicated him through the rest of it. But he was well behaved. My son, that is, and I was well behaved too. But
it's important.
It is important. But he enjoyed the beach, loved the water. If you'd have let him run, he would have run straight in and probably face planted, and we would have had to come home early. But fortunately,
why didn't you let him just do that?
Well,
I'm not sure.
I was trying to be a responsible parent and tried not to get too stressed out as far as the babysitting goes, because that is what traveling with a toddler is. You kind of talked about it briefly a couple episodes ago. When you have a small infant, or in my case, a young toddler, vacations aren't really vacations. They're more trips, and you're basically doing what you do at home, just in a different location with a lot less childproofing and many more dangers, because not every single electrical outlet has those little plastic coverings on it.
And some of those places were built before the code was.
That is true. Lots of stairs. But overall, it was really good. Weather was great. It was actually cooler in Florida with lower humidity than it was here in St. Louis. So I was quite happy about that.
Thanks for bragging. Really appreciate that. It was only 100 degrees here.
Right.
With high humidity because it didn't rain for weeks.
Until the day we got home, which was great. And then I got to clean my gutters.
Nice storm.
After a 9-hour drive from Alabama. So, but then the next day was Father's Day. So how was your Father's Day?
Yeah, first Father's Day. It was pretty good. as most first Father's Days are for people, it turns into Grandfather's Day really quick, and there's nothing wrong with that. We had a great time visiting the in-laws and visiting my dad as well, and it was cool because this year we also got to go see my grandpa again. So as a great-granddad, it was cool just to see him because we haven't seen him since last Father's Day when we told him he would be a great grandfather. So
four generations. That's really cool.
yeah, so it was really cool that we could go see him and just spend a couple hours again because we haven't been able to with COVID. So really cool weekend. And while it was on the go a lot, I still got to close down Father's Day with a nice beer and a cigar in the driveway, just hanging out. So
By yourself?
No. The wife was out there also with me. Just she sat across from me a little ways because she doesn't really like smoke. So she sat away from me, but we just sat out there and talked, and it was just kind of nice.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was good. How about you? Father's Day?
It was good. Got to sleep in a little bit, which was nice. And went over, saw my dad, hung out, watched the final round of the U.S. Open because we were supposed to go golfing. That was the original plan, but again, it was almost 100 degrees, so we decided against it.
Smart play.
It was good, and then came home, had a relaxing evening with the wife and the boy, and yeah, it was just after a long week of vacation. It was actually kind of a nice, chill day. So
that's good.
Very, very nice. I was very lucky.
Yeah, that sounds good. Awesome. Well, from now, like we're just gonna jump right into episode 7. Battle Scars from the Clone War, the Bad Batch. The clones in the Bad Batch. And yeah, I guess do you want to start recapping that one?
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty straightforward episode, I suppose. We learn who our hooded hologram person is pretty early on.
Yeah, we weren't right.
We weren't. I mean,
well, we mentioned him.
We did mention him, and we could have gone the easy route.
And I believe I said that that's the easy route to go, is just that it's Rex. But everyone's like, no, it's got to be someone more high up in the rebellion or whatever. It was funny.
Which would have been cool.
It would have been cool.
But alas, it's Rex. And he quickly learns that the Bad Batch still have their inhibitor chips in.
He was unhappy about that.
He had some PTSD, and I can't blame him. And I mean, the episode is Battle Scars, and he's seen a lot of stuff, especially as it relates to that. So,
yeah, I mean, the last time we saw him was
getting triggered himself.
Getting triggered himself, and then getting the chip out, and then watching his brothers fall to it.
So yeah, so then so basically they go on the quest to remove the chip because as we've been saying for the last 3 or 4 weeks since Wrecker knocked his head, something's going to go awry. So we actually go to Braca, which is cool. During which we kind of hinted at in our very first episode, trailer breakdown. Said that the graveyard kind of looked like Braca. I actually said I didn't think it was Braca because it didn't look like it from Jedi Fallen Order, but we get to go to Braca and find ourselves on an old Venator ship and get ready to take Wrecker's inhibitor chip out, and he snaps.
Yeah, do you remember what triggered it?
He was going to get a shot.
Yeah, but Rex said the magic word. I can't believe you guys didn't get triggered on Order 66.
Oh.
And that's when Wrecker really snapped.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he triggered him because the inhibitor chip in Wrecker was technically live now. So giving that order, these guys are traitors, time to kill.
It still is interesting that Rex said that, but none of the other guys
have even mentioned it since.
Well, their chips didn't trigger, so it clearly was him getting knocked upside the head.
Yep.
That kind of like shook it into place, I guess, or flipped the switch on, just ready to get that order said. So.
Yep. But yeah, it was.
But then the next 5 minutes.
Really intense.
It was great.
Yeah.
Like from a visual standpoint.
Yeah, Wrecker goes all, you guys are all traitors, and he was trying to kill people. So And then we get to a point where he's about to get Omega, and she's cowering in the corner, just saying, "You are my friend. Like, don't do this." And it was kind of just intense moment.
Well, because you don't know. I mean, we've kind of seen everything we saw from the trailers up to this point, and so you don't really know at this point anymore how people are gonna, how the arcs gonna progress.
And I mean, at the one point, Omega had the gun in her hand, and she had her finger on the trigger. So like, it was just an intense moment. Rex stuns Wrecker. They get him in the med bay. They take it out. Wrecker is obviously distraught because he knows what happened, and can recall the memory, and even tells Omega, like, I was trying to fight it. But even after all that, Omega still sat there with him. So it was really cool just to see them
that bond is
make
unbreakable.
up and bond, and yeah, it's awesome.
Well, and she gives him the Mantel mix, which is like this like popcorny looking.
Yeah, is it nuts or what is it? I don't even know.
It's
what
like
it is.
it looks like a snack mix, but
yeah.
They talk about it earlier in the episode and running up a huge debt because apparently they've been charging it to Sid's account. But they get to the end and technically they've completed the mission, and she's like, can't break tradition, and so you just again get that reinforcement of their friendship, that despite everything, she knows it wasn't his fault. And she forgives him pretty much on the spot. So
Yep, and I mean, as always during the episode, you had D. Bradley Baker playing the Bad Batch and Rex this time. Michelle Ang was Omega. They did have some extra voice actors this time just because they had Bolo, Liam O'Brien. I believe I'm not even actually sure who Bolo was in the episode, sorry. Rhea Perlman was back as Sid, and then Simon Regal was Ketch, one of the Avengers.
What would you rate it?
So I really enjoyed this episode. I knew it was coming, as far as not necessarily what the exact scenario was, but we knew Wrecker was going to flip. So, I mean, I liked it. I thought it was that's a solid 9 for me. I mean, good action, good suspense. There was still danger there because, like you said, we don't know. Like, we've seen all the Omega footage from the trailer already. So what if he ended her there? Who knows? Or Wrecker. Like, what if Wrecker got shot by either one of his brothers or Omega to stop him? So pretty crazy.
So you give it a 9. Yeah, I would probably give it a similar, maybe like, because I know we're going to go off IMDb ratings, and sometimes those are generally lower. I would give it a 9. I mean, it was just a fun episode, but I'm going to guess IMDb probably gave it a little bit lower, probably like an 8.7 or something like that.
Yeah, IMDb has it at 8.6, which still lands it really high as far as the episodes go.
It's one of the highest ones, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's the second. It was the highest rated episode since Aftermath, so which was a 9.0, just to remind everybody. But yeah, so really, I mean, I thought it was a really good episode, and things we kind of knew was happening, and then also you throw in the fan favorite Rex. I think that bumps the score just because everybody loves seeing Rex, because we want to know more about him, because this is the time period where he's like, we don't have any storyline for him right now, so it's kind of cool. All right, we'll roll into episode 8, right?
Reunion.
That was Reunion. Boy, not a whole lot to say about this episode either. I mean, it's pretty straightforward again. We catch up to our guys on Braca, and we find out that Rex left without them, so they are alone, and they are pretty much taking the time to say, hey, we need to make more money, so we're gonna raid this weapons cache because they have stuff that we can sell.
Tons of weapons. Still on that crash ship. So while they're doing that, we skip over to Camino real quick, and we realize that there's been a report from the scavengers on Braca that, hey, it's the Bad Batch, and so we see Crosshair walk in with Rampart talking to Lama Se. No. Yep, Lama Se.
Yeah, Lama Se. Not Nalasu.
Not Nalasu. It was Lama Se.
And again, it's reiterated that, like, hey, Clone Force 99 is a really important asset to us. We would love if they came back alive. And Rampart's like, I don't need a rebellious clone faction out there, so destroy them. And Crosshair is like, "Yep, no
Yeah,
problem.
sure, no problem.
That's my job. Cool." And so he gets to the planet, and the Bad Batch quickly realize that they are just in trouble.
Yeah,
because
they've been made.
They've been made, yeah.
Basically.
And it's intense fight, and it's fun because Crosshair knows their tactics. While they would fool anybody else, Crosshair knows their tactics. Crosshair knows they're going to be listening to our comms, so let's tell them we're going here, but really head here. Like, just cool little things. They find themselves in an ion engine, which was kind of cool. You get that quote from Wrecker just kills me because Omega's like, I've never been in one of these before. It'd be weirder.
It'd be weirder if you had been.
I mean, just crazy. Of course, it'd be weird if you had been in an ion engine. Like, why would anybody do that unless you're working on them? And a young clone from Camino, never been on that.
Well, and then Tech also has the quip where Omega asks, "What was the war like?" And he just does the most
pure definition of war,
deadpan, nerdy answer to it. It was the primary objective that was, and it's like, yeah, but what was like? I just told you.
I just explained it. Did you not listen to me? Jesus. Really cool though. And funny. Like it was good to see the humor from the Bad Batch and Omega interact with them because she's just genuinely curious about stuff. So it's cool. And then, but yeah, they find themselves pinned down again because Crosshair again knew where they would try to go and pinned them down. And Crosshair made the move to, hey, why don't you fire up the engine? And from there, the Bad Batch escape by using some bombs. They knock off the part of the engine that funnels everything through. So
it's like the shroud.
Yeah.
Basically, the whole shroud drops off with them in it, and then exposes just basically the pure engine.
Yep.
Like the exhaust port, basically.
Yeah. So they fall to the ground, and the engine lights up, and well, Crosshair's just sitting there.
Scorches.
So it scorches Crosshair, and I think that's really the moment where we find out that like Crosshair has no problem taking the shots, but Hunter still will not. Because they didn't have their guns drawn or anything. They weren't going to shoot at Crosshair, but Crosshair was taking some shots or trying to complete the mission. And then you get to
they're trying to get back to the ship.
Trying to get back to the ship because that's their escape plan now. Get back to the ship, and they're separated. Hunter is separated with Omega from the rest of the Bad Batch, so they make it back up to where the ship is first. And then all the storm, well, I guess they're storm clones. All the clone troops are down in the area, and Hunter's like, it's this wasn't
we didn't do
anything
this.
else, and this wasn't scavengers.
Right.
So who was it? And then we get the
big reveal.
The big reveal, and when the camera pans up as he starts talking,
It's fantastic.
and as soon as you hear the voice, you knew who it was. Well, as soon as you saw the boots, you knew who it was. But you hear his voice start going, and yep.
God, it's good.
Cad Bane.
It's so good.
Cad Bane shows up, and man, it is an intense stare down moment.
That scene was so good.
And I mean, Hunter's no slouch with a pistol. So I mean, and he got beat, and it was, I mean, he took it right to the chest. So, and then Omega instinctively just goes to him instead of, hey, you could pull your weapon right now because you're the bounty. He just told you he wants to take you, and it's just cool. And it's interesting because we'll get to that in theories, but like we don't know exactly who he's working for, and he's like, it's confidential, even though we got a scene earlier in the show saying that Kaminoans have the bounty out. So hopefully he's working for them in our eyes because at least she'll go back to the good guys, maybe.
Well,
maybe
good guys. We don't know what they want her for yet, but
exactly. But and then we close the episode with the Bad Batch, a really cool POV scene with Hunter's helmet coming back online, and then them getting him in the ship and getting out of there. But yeah, they realized that Omega was taken, and I mean that's it. Close the episode, really. I mean,
well, so to talk briefly about that last scene because it was so kind of big, like you said, that POV, it reminded me a lot of Halo. even the reticle, well, it looked like the reticle reminded me of straight out of Halo 1, like after you get the crap beat out of you by the Covenant and you're just running and running and running to try and get your health shield to regen. It felt straight out of like a Halo game. But the musical undertones during the Cad Bane scene
So good.
were so good. It was that quintessential Western, like I don't like cry, like it was just like that perfect Western, good, the bad, the ugly, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but in Our Oldest Friend, but that Western feel to Cad Bane was throughout that entire scene, all the way down to the duel, and yeah, I mean,
It was great.
I had to do everything in my power to avoid social media because I was driving back from Florida to avoid spoilers for that episode, because it was just so good. So as far as like a rating goes, I mean, it was a blast. Aftermath was good. Like, it was really good. But for the amount of time we had for this, it was, I think, my favorite episode so far. Of just the Bad Batch, right? So
Yeah.
Aftermath was a lot of Order 66 stuff in the beginning and whatnot. This was just like pure Bad Batch. We're stuck on this ship and we're being hunted, and just the cat and mouse, and then obviously get the reveal at the end. So I would say it's probably like, I would give it probably a 9 or like a 9.1, 9.2, something like that.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I mean, I think Aftermath was still my favorite just because I loved, even though we knew some of the stuff that was happening during it, and we have a lot of background noise and information around it. I still think episode 1 was my favorite so far. But like you said, like just pure Bad Batch, this was probably, easily the favorite with the reveal that we got. I know we had Rex in the episode before, fan favorite, but like when you bring Cad Bane back into it, and it's just... It takes it up a notch, because we've seen him so many times in the Clone Wars already, and we know what he's capable of, and it's just, let's like kick it up a notch. You know?
He's the best bounty hunter in the galaxy at this time. With Jango Fett being gone, he is bounty hunter number 1. So
yeah, I mean, you're talking about just a few years after Jango was gone. So really great episode. I would go with like that like 9.3, 9.4 feels good. And yeah, I mean, we're pretty much on par. I mean, IMDb has it at a 9.1, which actually makes it the highest rated episode so far, because Aftermath, I guess, dropped a little bit to a 9.0 now. But it is the highest rated episode so far. And you've got, during the episode, you've got, I'm going to say his name a lot, but D. Bradley Baker as the Bad Batch, Michelle Ang as Omega, Corey Burton as Cad Bane, and then you've got a couple of the Elite Squad voices in there. Bob Bergen was Lama Su and Scrapper number 2. Gwendolyn Yao was Nala Se again, which I didn't realize she spoke in that episode, but she may have. She came in at the end.
Well, it's right. When they're talking about
the bounty.
Do we need to hire another one? We already have the one out.
Yeah, you're right.
Her.
Yeah. Noshir Dalal as Scrapper number 1 and Rampart, and then Seth Green as Toto 360.
I was wondering who did his voice.
Yeah, fun stuff. And it's cool to see how many other people are involved in Star Wars. Like Seth Green's just, I mean, he's all over the place, but yeah, he's awesome. But yeah, Corey Burton coming back as Cad Bane, really cool stuff. He's just got a good voice for it. I mean, it's great. But yeah, like I said, top rated episode on IMDb again. We're going to move into some theories that we have going forward, right?
Yes.
So, did you want to start that off, or you want me to?
You go.
Okay, I'll give you the one that I told you was a surprise.
Yes, surprise me.
We just got the Battle of the Bounty Hunters comic. What if we get a situation?
It's the War of the Bounty
The
Hunters.
War of the Bounty Hunters. Sorry, Battle of the Bounty Hunters. It is a battle in the comic.
It's true. It is.
Anyway, sorry, but War of the Bounty Hunters, and we recapped that last episode. What if? Now this is a big what if, because everything's connected. What if Boba is also hired for the same bounty, and he catches up to Cad Bane, and it's a situation like we already have in the comics where one bounty hunter has him, the other bounty hunter steals the bounty, and it's Boba
Who
undercutting
steals it from
Cad
Cad?
Bane,
That would be fun.
and it would give you your scene
The big standoff,
that you want.
the duel, that the how Boba gets his dent, because that's I think that's the technically non-canon, or that was the original plan for. There was going to be a Clone Wars arc before it got canceled back in 2012, where they were going to have a standoff, and I think that's where Boba gets his or supposedly gets his dent from is that duel. That would be a lot of fun. And then you'd also reintroduce the original, well, not the original donor, but basically the original clone with Boba, and then finding out that Omega herself is, I guess in essence, his sister
In some way,
or like
yeah.
half, like
I mean, they're
I don't know,
they're all clons.
one 260th sister, I guess.
I mean, they're all clones, so
Right, exactly. So that would be fun.
it'd be fun. It'd be fun, and then you'd have the Bad Batch mixed in there somewhere.
So would you have Daniel Logan come back and voice,
I would hope so.
or
I
would you
mean,
have the original? Or because I don't know if he voiced Boba in the Clone Wars show. I can't remember who did his voice. I can't remember if Daniel Logan did his voice or if it was somebody else. And I know you're looking it up right now.
Yeah.
So if it's not him, I mean, you could bring him back for the original voice actor for continuity's sake. But given that we have, well, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have Tamora Morrison play Boba Fett, but he is, because that's who Jango is. I just don't know that it would make sense to have Tamora Morrison play or voice him in the show if he was there, if he did show up.
I think D. Bradley Baker did him.
Oh, that would make sense because he's technically a clone.
Yeah, I think he did him. Yeah.
Okay, so then they really don't have to reach outside if they don't want to. Yeah, I mean,
Or maybe Daniel Logan did do it in the Clone Wars.
if Boba's in the show, like you have War of the Bounty Hunters playing out in the Bad Batch, that would be cool. That would be fun. That's a fun theory.
Yeah, I mean, I like it a lot. I'm really hoping that that's what happens because I would love it.
The only thing that I would, my devil's advocate, I guess, against it.
Daniel Logan did Boba Fett for the Clone Wars.
Okay, so they could bring him back if he is in the show. The only thing that I would wonder about is, I guess at this point, so in the Clone Wars, Cad Bane is like Boba's mentor. He mentors him after Jango's killed. Boba studies under Cad, so you would have to have kind of this immediate shift away from each other to where I almost feel like they should still be working together.
Yeah, it's too early. It's too early for him to break off.
But again, going back to the arc in the Clone Wars that never was, Boba is supposed to have mounted an insurrection against Cad Bane, and so it wouldn't be unheard of to have it play out this way.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
I think it'd be fun. And then I don't know. Did you have any other theories on that? I think the other theory is just like, is he truly working for the Kaminoans, or is he working for somebody else?
Right. I wonder if Sid's involved with this like in some way.
She's got her hand in a lot of stuff.
I mean, she works with the Hutts. Cad works with the Hutts. I mean, what are the chances that Sid actually is well aware of what's going on and is just kind of playing everybody against each other?
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, it could be because they owe him. They owe them a lot of money. So in order to recoup some of the money they owe him, she could have said, "You know what? I'm going to sell Omega off." Mm-hmm. So it could be. I mean, who knows?
Well, and then you also don't know where so Cat has her now. So first of all, Omega thinks Hunter is dead.
Yep.
Which, I mean, that can open a whole different line of theorizing as far as her and her development.
Yeah.
But, where are they going? Are they going to go back to Camino? Are they going to some sort of meetup spot where she's supposed to be handed off?
Yeah, because if she goes back to Camino, the Empire is rapidly taking control there. As Rampart was talking to them that episode, that we want to know more. Like, he was basically saying, I need to know more about what's going on at all times during in the facility kind of thing. So they are quickly gaining access and control on Camino.
Yeah, and there's no safety really for her. I mean, imagine Cad Bane shows up in Xanadu. I assume he's still flying around the Xanadu blood, but he shows up in his ship. Like, nobody's going to notice that, and then he's going to get off the ship with this young clone. Nobody's going to notice that. Like, I just don't know how he gets her in without anybody seeing it.
Yeah.
So there almost has to be some sort of handoff or intermediary
somewhere.
Yeah.
I agree. All right. Well, I think that closes out the theories.
I think so.
Yeah, we didn't have anything else going on this week.
Right.
Can't wait for the next episode, obviously. And then this just takes us in, since we have 2 episodes, we got 2 characters in our oldest friend segment.
He's one of my oldest friends.
All right, so episode 7 from Battle Scars. Well, we get to revisit our favorite clone commander, Rex. I think he's one of the favorites. The favorite. I mean, Cody's cool, but Rex, I think we got to see a lot more of.
I mean, Wolf's pretty awesome too.
Wolf is pretty sweet. Yeah. But Rex is definitely a fan favorite. So just everyone knows who Clone Commander Rex is. I'm not going to go too deep dive into him, but he was born 32 BBY, which is before the Battle of Yavin. For all those people that do not know the Star Wars canon years, everything's based on A New Hope, Battle of Yavin. So he's voiced by the one and only D. Bradley Baker. He also goes by CT7567. And then he was affiliated with the Galactic Republic. He was in the 501st Legion. For the Rebel Alliance, he was in the Phoenix Cell, which we catch up to him in Rebels during that series. The Masasi group, that was the group on Yavin before the Battle of Yavin. So you're talking about when Cassian Andor in Rogue One was, we visit the Yavin base. And then he was also seen for ABY on the Endor strike team, which was confirmed, I believe, earlier this year. They confirmed that, maybe last year.
Within like the last year.
It's been kind of crazy because we didn't really know that he was there, and then you go back and look, and you're like, oh my gosh, look at that old looking Rex that's dressed up in Endor gear. What is that? Oh, that might be him. And so, cool stuff. He was introduced originally in the Clone Wars film as one of the main characters, and then his name was changed to Rex. Originally, they had him as Alpha, which it would just be a little confusing, I think. So they changed his name to Rex for the show, or for the movie and show, just to give him a differential part in the movie, because he was one of the main characters we followed around. So, not the best movie, but it turned out to be
the original. The original animated one.
Yes, yeah.
Not with the Cartoon Network, not the Cartoon Network Clone Wars movie.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. The one that was released in theaters that didn't do incredibly well. Yeah, that one. Still worth seeing.
You can watch it on Disney. You can watch it on Disney.
It is on Disney Plus. And then still waiting on my holiday special. Anyway, we
don't need that.
Oh, yes, we do. But yeah, that's really what we know about Rex. I mean, without going too much into detail about his time with the Phoenix Cell or recapping the Clone Wars again, and how he served under General Anakin Skywalker and occasionally Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then at the very end, he took command of the 332nd with Ahsoka Tano accompanying him to Mandalore during the last arc of Season 7 of the Clone Wars. So That's all I got on Rex. I mean, he's one of the fan favorites. He's got a new action figure coming out. Can't wait to get that in my hands, and I'll cover that along with some more figures in the toy section. But we'll move on to episode 8, Reunion's character.
Yeah, which we already talked about him kind of at great length, but that's Cad Bane, and just some background on him. His voice actor is Corey Burton, who also in the Clone Wars voiced Zero, the Hutt, and Count Dooku, which is actually really interesting because none of them sound anything alike. So shows kind of his great his talent as a voice actor. As far as Cad is concerned, visually and in person, the last time we see him is over 9 years ago now. He was last seen February 10th, 2012, in a Clone Wars episode called Crisis on Naboo. He's seen in graffiti in Rebels, but he's not physically seen. He hasn't physically been seen since then. As far as his design and his demeanor, I tweeted about this yesterday as our tidbit of the day, given how excited social media is about Cad. And his design is based off of Lee Van Cleef's depiction of angel eyes in the old Western movie The Good, the Bad, the Ugly with Clint Eastwood. And he's the bad portion of those three. And his small brimmed hat, although in the Clone Wars he had the broader brimmed hat, he's been given the smaller brim in this most recent depiction. But even his blaster pistols, the LL-30 blaster pistols, look very reminiscent of like an old Colt Peacemaker revolver, which was famous amongst outlaws and lawmen. And so, but Cad is a Duros species.
Duros, yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, his affiliations are pretty deep. I mean, he's, like I said, he's worked for the Hutts. He was hired specifically by Count Dooku to capture or to kidnap Chancellor Palpatine. And that plot was, I guess, thwarted or foiled by Obi-Wan undercover as Rako Hardeen. But yeah, I'm really just interested to see how much Cad we get. I'm really hoping we get more than just a couple episodes of him, even beyond this season. It'd be fun to. I mean, I'd like to see him in Book of Boba. That would be a lot of fun.
That's a long way down for him.
Well, but we don't know how old he is, or
we
I
don't.
mean, I guess I could look it up.
We don't know his demise yet,
right? And
so.
we don't. I mean, he's not dead yet, so and that would just be really funny to see him.
He'd be much older though, Book of Boba. I mean, you're talking.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't know how long Duros.
Oh yeah, they could age differently than any other species.
Beings live.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's good to see Cad again. It's kind of cool because I kind of called it with my string theory.
Yeah, you got. I mean, you got to him.
I got to him and technically
just in a different way.
Technically, Fennec could still be working for Cad.
True. We don't know.
And technically, Palpatine could still be the kind of over the primary client, I guess you could say, for why he wants Omega.
Right.
You know, because that kind of leads into the whole cloning.
But why would Palpatine be working against his own empire that is on Kamino? That would be my only question.
Because he's selfish.
Well, yeah, that could be.
And he's not really interfering at all with the Empire's plans to phase out clones. He just wants a specific clone that he can then use
potentially
for his own, potentially theories. So, but that's really it. That's really
awesome.
All I have for Cad.
Well, that closes out our recap and our character deep dive for this week. So now I know you're really excited about this.
I'm excited about this.
So I know last week you really dug into Light of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. So why don't you tell us all about that?
All right. So this, I'm going to try and be
it'll have some spoilers.
Semi-spoiler free.
But it'll have some. So if you are still planning on reading the book,
kind of skip through
yeah,
it, or
skip a few minutes.
yeah. So I bought. So yeah, I got the book right before vacation because I wanted something to read on the beach, as you do. And I alluded to it before when we talked about the comics that I'm kind of a slow reader, and I'm new to the Star Wars print media. So Light of the Jedi, the first book, and I believe it's going to be a trilogy within the first wave of the High Republic, written by Charles Soule. It is, I'm about almost halfway through, and the first part, the book so far is incredible. The writing, the descriptions, I'm able to basically visualize these scenes in my head and almost play it like a movie. It's that well written. The premise or the time period is about 240-ish, or no, 220 to 230 years BBY. So kind of in the High Republic, right? The golden age of the Jedi, basically the time before when the Jedi could really do no wrong. They were the protectors of people, and the premise centers around the inner core, around Coruscant, unifying effectively the galaxy all the way out to the Outer Rim. They keep using this phrase, "We are all Republic," basically from Coruscant out to Tatooine and beyond into the Outer Rim. Everybody is part of the Republic, and so they're building this new station called Starlight Beacon, which will basically house a detachment. It'll basically be Jedi Council 2.0 or Jedi Temple 2.0. You'll have the main one on Coruscant, and then this will allow the Jedi a place, as well as other people to live and assist basically in the Outer Rim. Well, the book opens with us on a ship traveling the hyperlanes in the Outer Rim territory. Specifically, it's called the Legacy Run, is the ship's name. And what ends up happening is somebody's coming the other way, basically, unannounced, and forces the ship to maneuver, which when you maneuver a giant cruiser in a hyperspace going light speed, it tends to rip your ship apart. And so what ends up happening is this giant freighter gets torn into a bunch of different pieces. And so the first part of the book centers around what's called these emergences, and it's pieces of this ship exiting hyperspace at random places. And so pieces of ships flying at light speed, running into things, not good. And so the particular system that is most affected by it is the Hetzel system. They're known for their tremendous growing seasons. They're known for their fruits, veggies, etc. Apparently, it's like a planetary greenhouse. And so there are multiple emergences that come out in their system, flying at their planets. And so it just so happens that there is a ship, or it's a cruiser called the Third Horizon, which is in the area, which happens to have a bunch of Jedi on it who have come from the Starlight Beacon outpost. And you've got 3 or 4 different arcs within the first part of jumping around with Jedi and ordinary or military personnel attempting to help aid the inhabitants of this system, which have 3 planets, or 2 moons and a planet, to escape basically their utter demise. And the thing about it is that each chapter has, it's got the chapter name or chapter number, tells you where you're located, and then it has a countdown to impact. So I think it starts with 120 minutes, and it goes 90 minutes, and then it gets all the way down to 6 minutes in the last chapter before the first part ends. And so, and at each point you're jumping to these different characters. Avar Kriss, who if you read the High Republic comics, you're familiar with characters like Loden Greatstorm, who sounds like one of the coolest Viking Jedi I've ever heard in my whole life.
That's a cool name.
And his Padawan, Bel Zedifer. Their particular mission is to assist at this outpost where there's marauders are actually attacking people who are trying to escape off world. And so you've got them. You have Captain Bright and his detachment, who are going to the solar array that's been hit by one of these emergencies to try and rescue the handful of people that are on there. And then you've got a Republic Longbeam ship, which is basically like a smaller version, I guess, of one of the larger cruisers, who is working with a team of Jedi to try and catch one of these pods, because on the ship before it broke apart, the captain had the people on it, because they were ferrying people, go into these pods, these container pods. Well, those pods are intact, with people flying at hyperspace, light speed, towards a planet. And so their goal is to try and stop it. So they're trying to catch a baseball basically being thrown at light speed. And so you've got all these different stories, all these different arcs, with the main premise being they're trying to save as many people as they can, people they've never met, people they have no attachment to. And, the Jedi are trusting in the Force to do it. And you have different Jedi tapping into the Force in different ways. Bell calls it like an inner light. He sees it as like a light. And Avar Kriss has more of it. She hears it as a song, and so she knows by there being holes in the song that there's something wrong in the Force. And so each Jedi taps into the Force in a different manner. And so it's very, there was one chapter I read where I actually cried or got teary eyed. And I've never done that reading a book. And so the first part ends with them, not just the Jedi where they are, in the vicinity, but Jedi from around the galaxy tapping into the Force and providing their energy to push what turns out to be a tank of Tabana gas, which is headed towards one of the suns, which will literally obliterate the entire system if it impacts it. That's the impact that it's counting down to. And they channeled the Jedi from all over the galaxy basically become one to reach out through the Force and push this thing traveling at light speed out of the path of the sun. And during that event, you've got Jedi falling off cliffs to their death because they're so in tune with the Force that you have people crashing their ships because it's like a Game of Thrones thing where don't get attached to any characters because they could just as easily be dead at the end of the chapter. But just the sacrifice, to just kind of encapsulate it. The first part is all about sacrifice, and or at least that's kind of the big takeaway for me. You've got Jedi and sort of civilians alike doing everything they can to help someone else, up to the point where they sacrifice themselves to do so, and as well as just the attunement that the Jedi have to the Force itself, and how powerful the Force can be as a tool for a Jedi. And so I've started now into part 2, which has an interlude which talks about the Nihil, which is basically a band of marauders, and so who have no moral code. They're in it for themselves. They basically will kill anybody so long as it benefits them. And the first chapter has them, or the interlude actually has them ripping apart ships that are trying to escape one of these emergencies, and basically destroying these ships, getting rid of everyone on board, and then just taking the cargo and everything like that for themselves. So like I said, I'm about halfway through the book. The introduction to the Nihil and how they'll eventually tie into the story is going to make it. I suspect there's going to be a lot more action in the second, and maybe I don't know if there's a third part, but in the back half of the book. And
I'm sure there will be. I mean, it sounds great so far.
It's a great read. It's fast. Some of the chapters are a couple pages. Some are like 5-6 pages. So it's a real quick read. But like I said, there's no shortage of descriptions, and like you can really paint the picture in your head. So it's a perfect first entry, I guess, into the era that apparently we're getting 3 waves of this. So I'm really
and a movie at some point, I'm sure.
Oh, that'll be great. I mean, so it's a lot of fun to read. So if you haven't read it and you've skipped this part, go pick it up, because the next one comes out next week.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. So that's awesome. So if you're interested in that, that's Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. You can find that. You just pick a retailer.
Pretty much anywhere.
Yeah. And then, like you said, Rising Storm.
Kevin Scott's Rising Storm comes out next week.
Yep.
I think June 29th.
Yep. And then we get our next installment on the comic front also for the High Republic.
June 30th.
June 30th. And then real quick news, just because, we're Star Wars fans, yeah, but we also like our other stuff. Mm-hmm. If you've been missing Mark Hamill in your life, like,
like many of us have.
You do. It happens, right? He is going to be voicing Skeletor in the new He-Man.
Mm-hmm. Which is coming to Netflix.
Yeah, I can't believe they're doing that. Kevin Smith is running with this one, and the trailer looks great. Mm-hmm. I actually hadn't seen the trailer till just today, and it's been out for 11 days now.
It's been out for almost 2 weeks. Yeah.
So I hadn't seen it yet, and just watching it, wow, it looks good.
It looks fantastic.
It looks good. It gets you pumped up too. Mm-hmm. So good music in the background going, and
everyone loves some Bonnie Tyler.
Yeah, and yeah, you get to hear Mark Hamill again doing some voice acting, mm-hmm. and I mean, come on, voice acting for him for the villains.
Oh, he kills it. I mean, he's the Joker, right? Yeah. And I know he's done other stuff. I think he did stuff in the Clone Wars too, from time to time. But
he's just phenomenal.
He's so good.
So yeah, if you've been missing Mark Hamill in your life, you can find him soon on Netflix. I believe it's July, what's it, 12th? Is that right?
12th or 13th, yeah.
Something like that for He-Man. So check that out. And then just to close out tonight, I mean, we'll go over some toy news. We had some releases come in last week from Hasbro. We had Rex with a poncho. Cool. I mean, we needed him now because, that's how he appeared in the Bad Batch. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it because I've been talking about Rex from the Clone Wars.
I mean, it's basically Clone Wars Season 8.
It is. And then the new Crosshair figure comes out also. That's him in his Elite Squad armor instead of his Bad Batch armor. And those are both Walmart exclusives. Pre-orders on those are both already sold out. Rex, I think, sold out in a minute and a half or
Did you
something.
Get one?
I do have a couple coming.
4? How many? 4?
A couple. Because he is one of my favorite clones. So, I mean, I had to have him. And Crosshair. Well, new armor for Crosshair. Why not, right? And then they're also relaunching the 212th Trooper, which is Commander Cody's division. He was originally in a 4-pack of clones. It's not showing on my shelf right now, but he was originally in a 4-pack of clones. So now you'll be able to pick him up as a single pack figure, which is awesome. Because I mean, especially for army builders, mm-hmm. I mean everybody loves their clone armies. So as far as Black Series goes, that's the news for the week. That 2012 Trooper is a Walgreens exclusive. Don't ask where the link is. I can't find it, and neither can anybody else in the world. So we're still just impatiently waiting for Walgreens to post the pre-order link for it, because it'll be gone shortly after.
When is that supposed to go live, or when was it supposed to go live?
Last week.
Oh.
So they were all supposed to go live at the same time, and Walgreens didn't put anything up, and they still haven't. So it was really upsetting for the guys on the on the pages because they're like, "Has anybody found the Walgreens link yet?" And everyone's like, "No."
I wonder if their servers wouldn't be able to handle the
I mean,
traffic.
they've done other pre-orders for that online for Black Series before or Funko Pops and stuff like that.
As big
so.
as this?
Well, I mean, that's tough. That's tough to say. I would say that this is probably the biggest. They did a clone lieutenant before, so I mean and they look like just
The blue clone lieutenant or the green one?
yeah. I think he's got blue on him.
Okay.
He's over there in the far left next to the Clone Wars figures. It's because they're the Attack of the Clones.
Oh, gotcha.
So forces. So but those were also repacks from the original two blue and orange line figures. So they were already there. At least one of them was. The other one came out of the 4-pack also. So, and I figure we'll get the rest of those as we get more of the new art boxes that are coming out, which I just need more shelves for still. And then other news, just personally, I got my first signed Star Wars pop the other day.
Oh, cool.
Super excited about that. I got a Jeremy Bulloch signed Boba Fett pop. It was missing from the collection. I've got a figure signed by him. I've got a helmet signed by him. I needed a pop.
Did you get a good deal on it?
Well, I won it in an auction, so you just you can determine whether or not it was a good deal or not. No, I thought it was a good deal, and it's from a local toy store, and I know the owner really well, and he's really great. I mean, Toys of Our Youth in St. Charles, Missouri. Mm-hmm. If you ever had a chance to go out there, I mean, he's got a little bit of everything in the store. A lot of vintage stuff, but also a lot of modern stuff, and he's got really fair prices on stuff. He doesn't kill you on. He doesn't kill the wallet if he doesn't have to. Obviously, some of the stuff just depends on how much he has to get it for.
Sure.
So, but yeah, no, great store and a great guy out there. But yeah, super
it
excited.
looks good up on the top of your shelf.
Yeah, I know. I gotta find.
I mean, I can't really. I can see the signature.
Yeah, I gotta move it somewhere where I can get it. But like the problem is that glass case has got other figures.
That signed Boba Fett helmet looks awesome.
It does look good. Yeah,
I mean,
that's a good one. So
I have to take a picture of it and post it on the socials.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's my first Star Wars pop signature. I've got some action figures and stuff like that signed, and some artwork, and but never a pop. First pop.
Yeah, I have my signed pop. I have is the Obi-Wan Kenobi one signed by Ewan McGregor.
Yeah,
it goes nicely with my signed.
Pretty awesome
lightsaber.
Yeah. Keep bragging. Okay. Anyway, so but I think that wraps us up for the night. Mm-hmm. Again, follow us on Twitter at the Force Dyad Pod.
No, just at Force Dyad Pod. Not there's just Force Dyad Pod.
And then on IG and Facebook at
Force Dyad Podcast.
There it is.
Yep, and each of those has the link tree to all of our where you can listen to the episodes. Again, you're already listening to it, I suppose. So
yeah, and we'll work on getting them out faster for those of you on Apple Pod.
Yeah, we're gonna try.
It seems like it's taken about a week to get on there.
There seems to be, and I just noticed today that they've classified seasons, like season 1 is episode 2, 3, and 4, and for some reason the last episode was classified as an unnumbered season, so it's actually not being put into the list. So if you follow it through the webpage, it shows it, but if you're going through the Apple Podcast on your phone, you have to click other episodes to find it. So
maybe I recategorize that somehow through
yeah, I don't know how that works. Yeah. Anyways, the only other thing I wanted to add, and we're going to put this on our link tree, is there's a virtual panel. Two things. One's there's a virtual panel on Monday, June 28th, with I think all the High Republic authors. There's Kevin Scott will be there. Charles Soule, Claudia Gray. You can submit questions to the panel. It's 6 p.m. Eastern. There'll be a link again on the Twitter page, Instagram page, and Facebook page, and then second, there is a virtual anime expo, AX, June 3rd and 4th. It's a $5.
July
3rd and 4th. Thank you. It's it goes to a charity. It's a charity, $5. But they are going to be showing a sneak peek of Visions, there. And if you can't catch it the 3rd and 4th, you get replay up through July 15th. So if you're interested in catching a sneak peek of Visions, we'll put the link to the AX
virtual event
on our socials. So
yeah, well, that definitely wraps
it up.
So until next time, guys.
May the Force be with you.